All right, everybody, we're here. Incredible. I gotta be honest with you, I don't even know who's connected right now. Welcome to Modular Mondays, everybody. We're starting this new series. Hey, Marco, how are you doing? Glad to find you here from the very start, from the menu itself. So, we're here for Modular Mondays. It's a new series in which every week we're gonna meet and do music for imaginary video games. I'm particularly proud of what I came up with. And I gotta be honest with you, I know people will rewatch this stream. I am kind of excited and kind of scared. It's been a while. I wouldn't say for the first time in my life on stream. I'm kind of scared, but I've been doing this for about 5 years now, being online and streaming and doing stuff, things like that. But this one is kind of special to me. And I don't know why, because we've done many series, we've done many things that are, interesting, that are exciting, that are dangerous somehow, in the world of audio. But this one has a particular weight. I don't know. It feels to me like we are kind of like all of us together venturing in this, is like we're embarking on kind of a space trip, all on a spaceship. And we gotta say goodbye to everybody we love because we're gonna be away for a while. Maybe when we come back, the world's gone, maybe haywire, more than now. Or maybe hundreds of years have passed. So it's like one of those movies. But we're like all together in this. It's like, we're a crew or something. This is kind of nice. So you say, Marco, I have no idea about this modular synth stuff. I've never tried it, but I'm curious. So we've been working with a lot of plugins. We've been working with a lot of insert processors. We've been working with a lot of hardware sometimes. We've done comparisons. We've done things like that. But everybody knows what a modular synthesizer is. It's kind of the godfather of all of the synths we have today. Anything that is super simple and hardwired is kind of made of modules, which are what synthesis is all about. Like you have a synthesis of different components, and the sum of these components is somehow bigger than the result is kind of bigger than the sum of the single parts. Because when you get these modules that do something and you blend them together, you get the musical instruments that synthesizers are known for, right? So modular synthesizers were the way things started. You used to have tons of modules and they would do things with cables and wires, and then the hardwire synths came out, like the Mini Moog, right? Something that is fixed, which still got, we could say, modules, but they're not, you can't really remove them or swap something for something else. It's hardwired. Everything is going, together. But the principles are the same in the sense that there's voltage, controlling stuff, things like that. So there is actually nothing different in modular synthesis than is available to us already in hardwired. But the fact that you get a synth, and it is proposed to you like the Novation base station here that I have, it's this thing. You see oscillators, mixer filters, LFOs, envelopes, and you can't really do much about moving them around. They've been structured in a way by the brand that made it, a product. With modules, it's kind of a different thing because you've got a rack space. All of the modules that in real life not really cost as much as a single synthesizer, but that they, but their kind of like cost adds, little by little into what the usual Eurorack user says. Like you start small and then you get up with tons of modules, and your investment didn't feel huge, but then you realize a year after you've invested a lot of money in it because of the many modules you have. So this is essentially why it's amazing. It's easy to get lost in it and kind of like let an afternoon go by and not do anything. I mean, do have fun with it, but like not produce a lot. But what I want to do is I want to kind of do a crossover between exploring sound synthesis together, like a crew, I said, or you're my crew somehow. We're going to have bridge, we're going to have engineering, we're going to have sensors, Marco's already stepped up into the bridge because he's been, into pattern for so long now. So he's definitely bridge stuff, So we got a station manned in the bridge for sure. And altogether, I want to kind of do some exploration. I remember James, for example, saying that when he's tried modular synthesis, he tends to end up into subtractive synthesis, which is what naturally appeals to him, probably. That's okay. And then there's people like me that when they deal with modular synthesis, they really have no idea where things are going to go. But sometimes things speak to me in a way that I keep them. And it's not a comfort zone for me to travel with this spaceship into this mission. This is not going to be a comfort zone thing. We don't know what we're going to find out, alien worlds and sounds and things like that. But I still want to keep this format into some sort of a guideline, which I think is why it's going to be fun to do it. That's kind of an introduction that I think is necessary because it's the first episode. I want to keep it so that we are going to design something that is actually functional. So, we're not traveling into space to sightseeing. We are going to do sightseeing, but we're on a mission, which is we have to kind of structure sounds and takes and things that I want to record. I want to make an album of. Eventually, we'll do a Bandcamp release of this that has enough tracks from things we've tracked. So today we start at level 1, like sort of a video game. We're not super powerful, but I'm going to show you, we've got Softube Modular in its full splendor. That thing is unbelievable. Softube is known for what they do. They're crazy amazing at what they do. But the modular is just like, you can tell they wanted to do it right. And so this has got different endorsements from different brands and stuff like that. So we are going to keep it focused on doing something with it. But we might not be always recording. I really don't know. It's an unexplored sector of space. So we don't really know what's going to happen. But it is going to be fun. And it's going to be kind of a terrifying experience somehow. Because why not? It's uncomfortable enough for me. So, speaking of these, I think this is the right moment to say this. I've been thinking about a couple technical components that we have to kind of together tailor or like fine tune. Okay. The first one is which kind of environment are we going to utilize to encompass the modular system that we have. I kind of made the administrative decision to use Nuendo after we had been talking about, different DAWs and things. I've tried Bitwig Studio, amazing, works really fantastic, but the processing power that Nuendo allows me to obtain from my same identical computer is much more vast and expansive than what I have on Bitwig. So this is what we're going to do. I have Nuendo. The second thing you can see it here right off the bat, I'm going to make myself a tiny little bit smaller, is I have a template going on because I will not design sounds and atmospheric stuff into a completely dry as a bone environment. It really makes no sense to me. What I would like to do is I would like to bring in modular into a system that to me has sense, okay, that makes sense. And there's nothing that makes more sense to me than a scoring template that I have been using to score music with non-modular, which is my sort of comfort zone. I have virtual instruments and I make music with that, but not with modular. So that's probably why I'm absolutely scared. I tried it. It's unbelievably fun, but I have to give the structure, and this is our first call. We're now really into the spaceship we've been talking about for so long. So, crew, get ready, because this is going to be insane. And I'm telling it to myself. So let's take a look at my template first. This is the environment. I know a lot of people like Mike on Patreon and other people have been asking me many times, what is pre-production to you? What does it mean? How do you do it? How do you think about stuff and things? So in my specific case, pre-production is also taking a look at the environment in which I'm going to operate. And in the years, and especially this year, I have designed sort of like a bunch of effects that I've been calling weird ways. This is one of the templates. I've imported some stuff. There's a couple more. And I'm thinking this is the soundstage that I want my setup to work in, because I know it very well. And as you can see, there's like 5 pedals that are hardware pedals next to me. They all get summed into the Dangerous 2 bus, and they go back into the DAW. So sound can go to the pedals via my D2A converters, and then it gets summed into a summing box and comes back into a single pair, which is this, the 2-bus retard. Then I have a lot of different effects that I've been using for quite a long time. They have names that really don't mean much. There's glitch delay, there's rebouncers, there's panner delays, survival, Crotosian, DZ, Mecha, Ameth, Faris, Shimmer, and Black Hole, okay, which is a copy of something I have on the Black Hole pedal. I have a couple more dozens. No, I think I have about maybe 8 more that are sometimes related to orchestral sounds. So for this reason, I'm not kind of eager to just completely import them, but you can see some chains are fairly busy for what they do. Okay, I'm not sure we're going to use them, but that's what it is. So then we've got the buses here, and I've got hardware, synths, strings, brass, guitars, bass, organic, vocals, choir, and ambience. And then I got beats, drums, grooves, perks, impacts, risers, cybers, and then eventually my all effects. You see it here. And these buses are all green or dark green, and they're all populated, as you can see. They've got plugins on it, okay? So, for example, the old brass has got filter bank, and then it's got Varis, which I absolutely love, and then it's got the Manly Massive Passive, okay? So this is how it's working. Everything's kind of populated. My mix bus is also populated. I've got quite a bunch of effects. And there's bass processors, there's good math, you've seen these, there's a 6020 by Mac DSP, stuff like that. So we're working into an environment that already has a sound. Mix A goes into B, B into C, C to print, and then eventually we've got the VCAs, and then we're out. This is a system that I'm comfortable in working in. We don't have to use all this, but I would certainly think that it will be kind of nice to do it, okay? So this is kind of the preamble. That's why you see Nuendo. That's why you're not seeing, I don't know, something else. Or an empty session. The worst thing I could ever have, it's like an empty session. That'd be horrible for some reason. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a folder. I'm going to add track folder, and I'm going to call these modulars, okay? And I'm thinking I want a folder out of this. Man, we're shaping, together, kind of the future of these series. All right, crew, aren't you like super excited to be here right now? Because we might redo stuff. I don't even know. So modulars, we go T, and we say, you know what? We want an instrument, which is gonna be modular. The MIDI inputs are gonna be all MIDI inputs. And we're going to send this, I could send it to any of the buses, right? For example, all synths or all strings or whatever. I am going to make the decision to skip on this and go to mix A straight ahead. Okay, for the first one, I'm going to go into mix A, and we're going to call it modular 01. And this is the moment in time that we are summoning Softube Modular. Okay, so I could go in circles pretending that the focus of this episode is to teach you how to use modular, and that would feel extremely safe for me. But I don't want to do that, just that. It's kind of like, I don't know. But if you've never seen it, I think Marco's probably never seen it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm thinking, what do you say from the bridge over there? Has Bridge seen it? Maybe not. Maybe yes in screenshots, but like in front of you. It looks much, maybe scarier than a real one, than a real modular. So all you have here are modules, obviously, that you can load in. And the beautiful thing about Softube Modular is that they have 100% true to life endorsements of the brands that made Eurorack Modular so famous. So we've got Döpfer, we got IntelliGel, we got 4MS, we got Buchla, we got Mutable Instruments, we got Vermona, which made something specifically for them, Overstayer, and then we've got models for other stuff. So the beauty about modular as well is that we've got tons of modules in here that are going to be utility for sure, but that are also modules that come from their line of synthesizers and virtual instruments, or from their processing factors. That's, I think, a huge plus of the Softube modular environment. So Marco says, right, so far only seen pictures. All right, Bridge, gotcha. I had seen pictures as well, and Mike was like, dude, you gotta try this. Try it, okay? And I was like, yeah, maybe. Then I started teaching and working with it for some ambient stuff that a student of mine wants to do. And I was like, all right, I got it. Let's delve into it. And then I was like, I want to do this all day long. I don't want to do anything else. So you see, you hover over a module and it tells you where it comes from and what it's from. For example, Mutable Instrument Brides. It will send you to the actual store for the actual module. They are strictly interconnected, the hardware, the brand, Softube, and their plugins. So even processors like the British Class A console, you can recall into a module format. And I think this is really an amazing idea that you have the sound of them into this, okay? So what we do here is if I close the module panel, you'll see that I have 4 racks, 4 rows, whatever we want to call them. So this is going to be our main engineering, like the reactor core of everything. We've got the top row, then we've got the sort of a routing and inputs outputs section here, where you can add modules, remove them. You've got the main outputs, you've got aux outputs, and you've got the block DC on outputs, which is something we might talk about later. And any module can be placed whenever you want, wherever you want. Top row, bottom row, it doesn't matter. And that's it. I mean, technically, you've got an amazing preset collection browser where you can load stuff. I'm not going to do it because we might explode by loading one of these. Some of these patches really make you question the sanity of the people who made them. There's creativity everywhere because of the modular scene. So what do? We don't really know what to do. I have this idea that we should never start from an empty section like this one. This is really an empty modular stage. I would like to design a starter preset that is going to be our own, okay? This is going to be our standard ordnance that the spaceship has for traveling, for everything. It's going to be the standard de facto, So why do I want to do this? Because there's always some modules that you want to have in order to make the instrument work, okay? And also, we're not going to design an entire synth in here because it takes so much of the resources pool available that it's going to probably crash your computer. So what I would like to do is I would like to devise a startup patch that will allow us to have, I would say, 4 instances of modular. where we have drums or percussion, percussive elements. We've got pads, we've got bass, and we've got atmospherics or plucks or melody, whatever. It's gonna be kind of challenging, but we're gonna try and push it to having 4 tracks. That's it. And eventually I want to have controlled surfaces for playing this. We're really, we haven't even left, Earth for now. We're still on Earth, in the spaceship, but on Earth. So I propose that we set up things the way that I think a started patch should work. So we go to add, just so I'm not going to say that again, ever. And we take DAW and MIDI interfacing. It takes a little bit to orient yourself. Don't worry about that. You'll in a while, it will be second nature. So we want to generate, we want to get at least these 2, okay? Which are DAW sync and MIDI to CV, okay? Why do we want this? I want these because, and I need to save actually. Let me save this. Templates, Modular Mondays template. Man, this is exciting. Modular Mondays template V1. My words, V1. So we need a module that is DAW syncing because we're going to get the clock from the actual DAW, and we need something that converts MIDI to CV in the case we want to use our keyboard to play stuff. Now I'm playing this Bass Station 2, and you see that on the top there's a tiny little bit of a red light, tiny little one, that is just lighting up, meaning that there's MIDI that is getting received, which is a good thing. Okay, so these 2 are just the utility sections, and let me show you what you can do with this one. Let me just take a VCO, okay, just for kicks, and I'm gonna move these to the bottom, okay? So our utility and startup is gonna be there, but our bottom is gonna be the sound generation. Crew, am I pre-planning everything or what? This is, I've been thinking about this live event for a week. I guarantee you that. I was absolutely excited at first, and then after I got it down and all the graphics and the ideas, I got terrified because I said, this is gonna be so good that I myself am scared of what can come out of this. Okay, and I hope one day we're gonna have an album out of it. I'm dreaming, daydreaming on this right here with you. So, VCO. The first thing I would do is take this volume knob and I would drop it to like -9, or I usually go -12. I usually go lower than -12. Because people say that the worst thing that can happen on a modular is that you patch something and it doesn't have any sound. They're lying to you. The worst thing that can happen is that things explode so loud because of something you patched up. Might be amazing, but very loud. So I'm going to drop the volume all the way down. I'm going to take a sawtooth and I'm going to plug it, dragging it, okay? I'm telling you how the spaceship works, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, crew. All right? So we drag it. You see, it's green because we're reaching out to outputs. So this is the sawtooth output. We go to the main output, and now it goes out of our plugin, of our instrument. In fact, if I raise the volume, we should hear something. And in fact, there's signal, but because modular is in mute, I'm going to remove mutes and solos. Okay, it works. Trust me, it's going to work. Here. You see how loud the thing is? Plugging straight out voltage into that. So in theory, we have power from behind the module rack. The VCO module is powered, and we're dragging it into the main output, right? Now, because you see this little arrow, left goes to right, it means that if you plug it into the left, that's a mono signal. It will get duplicated onto the right. Let's try and go to the right instead. Now I hear it only on the right. And so do you, okay? So I will make the administrative decision to take this volume knob and point it at 9 o'clock, crew. This is where it's safe. I'm telling you that. All right? So This, all right? And if I unplug it, obviously it's unplugged, okay? So why does this happen? Why is this always playing? That's the first sort of like issue with modulars, because the VCO is not being gated by anything. It's got current, it's powered up virtually, and so when we plug something in, it plays, okay? And I can patch it, and I can tune it. Right? And I can do other things like HOTS with modulation. I can CV2 something, we'll get into it, but that's what it is. So we've got 4 actual waveforms for one cycling oscillator. So the 4 waveforms are all bound by the range, tune, something like that, okay? So right now we have no gate, we have nothing, we've just got that VCO that is just to show you is playing there. So a lot of people are scared to say like, this is impossible. You can't really possibly think that you want to do something from this level of zeros into that. So they go and delve into it with presets. I don't think it's really the most amazing thing possible, okay? So let me add some things that I think we will need. Definitely a mixer, definitely 4 LFOs. I'm using Shift so that I can add more modules without these sort of like gallery disappear. Then I want 2 ADSRs, I want 2 VCAs, and a noise generator, maybe a low pass gate as well. Okay, so now it's scary. Now it's what you see at a music fair and you go like, I don't want to touch that. So we can't move the modules. Just so you know, don't attempt moving the modules this way. We've got to go move delete, which is a little bit cumbersome, but it's not too bad, okay? So what we have here is we've got 4 LFOs, 2 ADSRs, we've got 2 VCAs, 1 noise generator, and a low pass gate, a Vactrol, which is one of the coolest modules that they've ever done. And the nice thing about it, are you ready, is that we can put panels on it. We have either wood panels or metal panels. Look at that. So we can do, for example, move delete, and we take the VCOs, the LFOs, and we put something here to separate them. Then we've got the ADSRs, let's say, right here. Put them here. Then we are gonna keep one line open here, and we're gonna have, it's not really necessary, it's just to show you how it works. So here and here, okay? And we can put the wooden one, for example. So there's a method to this, see now? Hey Drac, how you doing? I'm a huge fan of VCV, never used Softube Modular though. So on Patreon, how you doing? It's been a while, but it's also been a while. I haven't been streaming much, preparing for the amazement. Welcome to the crew of Modular Mondays. And I was telling before you joined that I'm absolutely scared and excited about this series. It's been a while since I've done that. I've got people on Patreon who use VCV as well. They absolutely love it. I have a free account there, but I know the people at Softube. I've talked to them. I had Modular, not all the modules. And so you're going to be amazed because Softube Modulars isn't easy on the CPU, but man, this thing sounds unbelievable. And again, I am not in my comfort zone, so this is going to be even more fun, okay? So we were saying I put 4 VCOs, I put 2 ADSRs, I put 2 VCAs, then we've got a noise and we got a Vactrol low pass gate, which is kind of a weird thing. So as I said, if I raise the volume here, right, we're getting that. There's something else that I want to add as a startup patch. This is just our starter patch. I want to get the mixer, okay? A mixer is really fundamental, I think, because we can put it down here so that our audio mix is getting mixed. These are 4 signals. You see there's input 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's the output. So now we could take the output of our filter, of our oscillator, I'm going to drag all of these down. I'm going to take volume and I'm going to put it up here. For example, we said I'm going to do -18, field saving. And then I'm going to take the 4 oscillators of the Doepfer A110 and I'm going to put them all here. Okay. And then we're going to patch the out to the main output. Right now, nothing happens because our volumes are all down. But in theory, if I drop these up, we're getting the 4 oscillators, the 4 waveforms of these oscillators. Which is still completely uninteresting for all of us. But this is how patching works. You're just sending inputs, outputs to inputs, and then again outputs to inputs, and so on and so forth until you reach out to the mono out in this case. But we could use, for example, a filter that we haven't used. I know all of you, I myself, here in the crew, we're all used to subtractive synthesis. So you take a filter, and you probably move this guy right here. I'm going to show you why. We go add, and we take a BCF8, right? So these now is our filter right here. So instead of going all of the oscillators down here, we're going to take the output, the sawtooth of these oscillator, and we're going to go right here. And I know for me, it was the hardest thing ever when I saw the 108. I was like, where does this go? Read the labels. Sometimes, not every time, they make sense. So audio in, and then we've got actually 4 filters, 48, 24, 12, and 6 that go out. So this is an output, and we can send it to in one of our mixer. Our mixer is already connected to the main output. So when we operate the filter and we turn the mixer on, we've got a filter. And the filter starts with an emphasis of 5, that is the resonance. I've picked the 12 dB per octave filter. We've got a level, we can modulate these with CV, and we've got a frequency, which we can still modulate, okay? I'm gonna tell you sort of like how it works. It helps me because it calms me down to go into this realm of stuff. But this is not how we're gonna compose on this. But we gotta start from some point, right? I'm not gonna write patches this way. I'm gonna tell you that for sure. But we gotta kind of learn the ropes and run a protocol check of our spaceship. So frequency. Right? So we got it. It's always playing. We know that because we're not gating it. We're not doing anything to it. It's fine. I'm gonna use the volume to just do that. And we've got our audio level, we got our frequency, we're changing stuff, blah, blah, blah. It's fine. There's also a band pass that I forgot. It's actually, 5 types of filter in one module. They pack a lot of stuff in these things. And I'm telling you, these things exist for real, okay? So how do you control something with something else? With CV, which is not curriculum vitae, which is what you send when you have job applications. It's a much better thing because CVs are not a good start in life. I know we've all sent them, but have CVs for you ever worked somehow? I'm gonna stay silent until I get a reply. This is getting, I'm getting to know my crew. This is how it works. Have CVs ever worked for you? In my galaxy, never. It's never been a good thing to send CVs to people. But, I'm digressing. That's a good thing. So how do you control it? With CVs, okay? So, for example, we take these LFO, and you can see the cycle of the LFO and how it's moving because they're lighting up in a way that it makes it recognizable for us to say, oh, I see how that sine is working, okay? So we take this sine wave for my first LFO, and we send it to CV1, okay? So now the cycle of these LFO is going to modulate our frequency. How do I know that? Because that CV1 is placed next to frequency. Sometimes they have names when they are going to be controlling something, Other times they're called CV1, whatever, but they're next to a control. In the case of Doepfer, that's how they do it most of the time. In the case of every other brand, no, but they're clearly labeled, okay? So I'm gonna bring the volume up, hear what it does. You hear how authentic that is? You hear how, like, gnarly that gets? Right? So now what we have is we've got this sine wave that is modulating the filter. It's just doing what a lot of hardwired synths do. But the reason why modular is amazing is that we have limitless possibilities, which is also the problem of it. So for example, if I take this sine wave and I modulate the first LFO through another LFO, now you'll hear that the cycle of the LFO is changing through the frequency of the second LFO. And we can keep going. I'll do it just for kicks. I'll take the sawtooth and I'll do it for the second one, from the third LFO to the first one, to the second one. And then I'm gonna take the triangle and I'm gonna do the fourth to the third, right? Exactly. That's a good way to put it. All right. So this noise that you're hearing is exactly that. We've got one LFO controlling the filter, but the cycle of the first LFO, which is the sine wave we're using, is getting controlled by a second LFO with a different cycle, whose cycle is getting controlled by the third LFO, sawtooth wave, who's getting controlled by the fourth LFO, triangle wave. That's exactly why modular is so crazy about that. We've just been using control voltage, and you decide on the influence for the different parameters here, but ultimately resulting in changing the frequency of the VCF8 that we have here. Might not be the most interesting patch, but that's how it worked, okay? Now, if I reset all of this by disconnecting these cables, and we can hear that we are, hey there, hey Quirp. Have you ever been here? Maybe not. That's a great moment in time to join the crew, because I don't know where we're going with this, but I'm kind of like shaping my comfort zone out of how modular works, and then we're gonna kind of go nuts on it. But I'm kind of shaping the environment of it. Welcome to the stream. Glad you're here. Very happy to know that you were able to join. I hope the time zone that I kind of wanted to pick my stream in works. You know, it should, hopefully. So, yeah. So, this is it. Right? And I'm going to drop it down. For sure, you want to learn about this, just Snoop? Absolutely. Same here. Modular is something that I do not use for work, for composing. So, I use hardwire synths. You see some of the synths are all around me. You maybe saw some videos then which I've played them or composed with them. But this is all about modular. We're going to do these Mondays and we're going to make a record one day on Bandcamp out of all the tracks that we improvise and do things on. So, but now we're kind of like checklisting the spaceship. So the door's still open. You got in. That's fantastic. Take your seat in the crew, you know, get your uniform, whatever, you know, just take a seat somewhere, take a look at the spaceship. We're still on planet Earth for here. You know, after this episode, next week, we're probably going to be far away from the solar system in this thing. So I was talking about how I want to build some sort of like a startup patch. So I put some things that still make no sense for us, like, LFOs, 4 of them. Why? Well, I know what I'm gonna do. Trust me. Cheers. So then 2 ADSRs, VCAs, noise generators, and the Vactrol. Okay. And then we've got an audio mixer. We've got an audio mixer here just because I forgot I had put one. So I put one down below. But what I want to do here is we're going to keep our top row of the 4 always with the utilities that we're going to use. Okay. And I know I want LFOs. I know I want ADSRs. I know I want VCAs. I know I want noise, because we are going to make music strictly with modular stuff. And I'm going to get to the point in a second. I don't think I want to play keyboards. I want to really delve into something that I haven't got any comfort on. If I play a keyboard, it's just going to put me into the realm of the keys are going to orienteer myself so much. I am going to try, we're going to see, to travel into noise and ambience into some way that I would want to have controlled surfaces. And trust me, I already wrote Novation for it. I have a plan. I want to use some of their control surfaces to control these modulars. It's going to be amazing. I cannot wait to get them. End of my digression. But I don't really want to write music with like MIDI notes and deciding where things go. I want these instruments to kind of have a life of their own, but we're going to still have BPMs. We're going to still have patterns, stuff like that, but not really like playing everything. Okay. So I said it. Now you know. Everybody, all crews and hands on deck. No, I am going to try and stay away from playing my keyboard, because that's where I come from a kid up to today. A modular makes sense to me more if it's probably going to try and push me. That's a lot of talking on, but I have so much to tell you. I'm super excited about this. So we've got these oscillator, and as I said, it's playing all the time. This is a problem you're going to face all the time. Like you drag something in coming from a Moog keyboard, and the modular is playing notes all the time, So you say a guitar player, or you wear, I'm really into electronic psychedelic stuff. Man, this is it. I write music for video games mostly since 2020 when the pandemic started, and I moved away from the studios we had in Berlin. You can look it up. Big studio, fantastic, time, but I moved back to composing. And I do not use modulars to compose, whether it's sketches for video games that are indie or something that gets into underscoring TV series. I use my real synths and I use virtual instruments, but not modular. That's why we're doing this, so that I can completely ruin my life. But it's just such a fantastic environment. But I want to keep it interesting and new. I want to explore, and you with me, we're going to explore something that I myself don't have comfort into, and I believe it's a great chance. This is gonna be a series that hopefully we're gonna remember. Like music happened, we did something. I'm thinking really big for some reason, but I guarantee you it's gonna happen. So it's playing all the time. How do we stop this from playing all the time? Okay, so what we need to do is we need, for example, 2 things. First, if I have this and I play MIDI, like I'm playing my bass station, you see that on top, Nuendo's telling me red light means there's MIDI signals here, okay? But if I play something while the oscillator's going, nothing's happening. Why nothing's happening? Nothing is happening because there's no connection between note and the oscillator or oscillators. And it's this thing here. That's why I put MIDI to CV, and I believe we're going to have MIDI to CV all the time, right there. That's going to be our startup patch. So note has to go somewhere, because hear me out. This is the way you should learn this, in my humble opinion. Note is not note. It is a note, obviously. If I press C3, it's the C3. E flat 3, it's E flat 3. E4, it's going to be E4. But to a keyboard and to a modular environment, this is a voltage, okay? It is a specific number of volts, or actually millivolts, that define the electricity that generates D3, for example, okay? So you can plug this node everywhere, because essentially what node is millivolts decided by my hand on the keyboard. Okay. And I just gave you, for being a total noob, I gave you possibly the explanation I wanted to have when I approached modular synthesis when I was about like 23, I think. And I had the best teachers because they're amazing people. It's just my mind was into like being a professional keyboards player and coming from acoustic piano. And I was like, all right. And I was like, ninja bomb and kind of disappeared because it was like, we're going to have finals on these. All right. Okay. So how do I resign from this school? Luckily, we had tons of things to do on top of modular. So, but I still did good, because I loved that. But initially, it was kind of hard. And I remember having delved into it, and when I got this explanation, I was like, this is the best explanation ever. Notes are just voltage. That's essentially that. So how do we do this? I'm going to drag note into CV1 right here, okay? So now my MIDI keyboard notes in entering modular, this virtual instrument, are going to decide on the pitch. How do we know this? How do you know it? You read the manual for A110 VCO. I didn't do it. Your captain didn't do it. So this is the guy in command of the ship. It's actually nobody's command on this ship, like a crew together in here. There's going to be people who know way more than I do, and they're going to join probably in future episodes and stuff. But this is deciding on the tuning. Look what's happening. CV1 is next to tune. Doepfer usually does it that way. When you have a control voltage next to control, I said it before, some people connected a little bit later, it's the control voltage that decides on the tune. Meaning, my notes, you see that purple, violet thing, are going to be connected to CV1, meaning now the oscillator is going to hear the voltage I send to CV1, and it's going to alter the pitch of the oscillator. Let's try that. Right? So this amazing performance was just, pushing notes here, and you heard that the oscillator was changing. It doesn't mean that tune isn't working. It still does, but, you can still tune the oscillator, but the pitches are still offsetting my notes are still offsetting the pitches of the oscillator. But to quote a famous poet, the darn thing is still playing all the time. Right? This is the most unofficial course on modular synthesis ever. And they put us in charge to save the world on this spaceship. Can you believe that? So this is always playing. Why? Because there is no gate going on here. And you see here, gate, there's nothing that tells the oscillator or something else, please stop playing, now go. Like a gate. When the gate is open, the oscillator plays. When the gate is closed, the oscillator doesn't play. Okay, that's gate. We can send gate because MIDI has gate functions as well. When my key is pressed, I'm sending gate on or open. Okay, and when I release my key and let go of it, the gate closes. Simple as that, right? So, you're welcome. So this is exactly how it works. But we don't have any gate, so the oscillator is not doing anything. Now, the VCO in Doepfer land does not have a gate that I know of. Maybe it does, but it actually doesn't, I think. So let's first hear what happens if we do something stupid, okay? We take the note, okay, from here. Look at that. We take it from our node module, and we send it to input 2, okay? So now we're essentially doing what Alberto was doing, which is me, when he was 22, and venturing into the modular system that they had in school, okay? And I was like, I know, note, it's going to play notes, and I'm going to send it to the mixer, and then the mixer goes to the output. We know that, right? The second mixer right there, right, bottom right, is going to the output. So all I need to do is take this input, drag it up, and I can play my keyboard. You know, we're gonna press a key, and we really don't hear anything. Why? There's actually like tiny little bursts. Okay, we don't hear anything because we're blocking the voltage out of the synth. Otherwise, it could even be bad, really bad. And all we're hearing is these little kind of clicks, okay? Because note is actually not note. I told you it's voltage, but it's not an oscillator. So we don't really, we're sending CV to output. It's CV by itself is not really the most beautiful sound you want to hear. So now let's try gate. I'm gonna bring the mixer down. Please, you know, if you want to do this while I'm away, do that all the time. Lower the mixer, bring it up. Nothing's happening. I'm gonna play my MIDI keyboard. You hear it? It's kind of subtle. I'm gonna increase that. So there's two impulses, like direct impulses. One when I press the key, and one when I let go, right? So this is gate, and it's completely, once again, useless for our musical kind of rendition. It's nothing that I'm sure somebody will make music out of these little clicks, but you know, it's gate. It's information that tells something open, close, okay? And as long as I keep it open, the voltage is up, and then it goes down, and it says that, okay? But it's officially an output. So while I'm dragging this thing, all of the possible inputs potentially light up green, and they say, you can plug it in here. You know, everybody's calling, plug it here, plug it here, plug it here. You know, it's up to us to know what's going to happen. We just did it with the mixer. Nothing really happened. So what I want to do is I'm going to use this with the ADSR. Okay, let's try and do this. So when I press a key, you see the little red light of the first 140, which is Doepfer's ADSR, the envelope generator. ADSR, attack, decay, sustain, release, is lighting up. You see that? Each time I press a key, it's got that light up and then it goes down, right? Because it's sustaining up. So if I bring my sustain and release down, the attack to 0 and the decay to say 2, look at the light. You see? It's bursting, right? So now, if we take the output of the sawtooth, we go into the filter itself, and we take the output of the filter and we don't go to the mixer, because otherwise we are just playing things. We can send these to the actual retrigger. No, we don't need that. We're gonna do that? No, it doesn't work. We're gonna do this. I know you were gonna say that, like into the ADSR. Nope, we're not gonna do that, because let me show to you what the output of the ADSR does. You see here, there's output. Let's go to input 2. Will I find out my Dreadbox Hades was final this time? Haha, I don't know. It's actually pretty cool. You know, I had a friend who had one. You sell it? Now it's bad. Oh gosh. I had those moments as well. There's a couple things I sold that I maybe didn't want to sell now. It was fine all the time. Oh, maybe because you thought it was broken. All right. And instead it was no, maybe you sold it. There's two possibilities of what you wrote. You thought it was broken and you sold it as broken. Still at your parents' house. All right. How far are your parents from you? What is it, like 8 hours flight? Because my parents' house right now, it's like 8 hours by car, at least. Possibly didn't connect it right. Okay. But you still have it, so that's good. So let's hear what the output does. All right. So it's on. It's got gate. It's doing the same thing. It's just doing that impulse. All right. 400 kilometers. All right. But you still have it and it's at your parents. So it's a good thing, you know. Sold it would have been worse. But we all been there. All right. So we send, so as you can hear, there's no note. There's nothing we're playing here. So the output of the envelope generator is voltage. So we send these voltage into the VCA, okay? The CV in. CV in of a VCA will tell the VCA to modify the gain, okay? And here you see in and out. That's what we're gonna do. Now we know what to do. There's nothing stopping us. We're taking 12 dB low pass and we're going into that VCA right there. And then we're taking that output of the VCA and we're going to input 1. I'm gonna bring these up. And as you can hear, it's not playing. But I think it's gonna work right off the bat. If I push a note, I'm gonna do two things. I'm gonna send a note voltage amount to the actual oscillator, which is gonna mean the oscillator is gonna follow my key tracking. Right, that's essentially what it is on synthesizers. It's gonna track my pitch through the notes I play, but also I'm gonna send gate to the ADSR, which means that the gate is gonna follow that pluck kind of sound that I created, and the output of that envelope goes to the CV in of the VCA. And that is a dual VCA, so the top is equal to the bottom. I don't think there's any difference. It's going to open the VCA and close it based on the envelope. And who is passing through the VCA? You see it in the cables, right? The filter is passing through the VCA, but the gain is at 0. And the output is going up, is going to the mixer, and the mixer is going to our main outputs. Okay, so the oscillator goes to the filter goes to the VCA is controlled by the ADSR, which is controlled by our gate on the keyboard, and it's gonna trigger and open when we are playing a note whose pitch is also being sent to the oscillator. And then our VCA output with gain at 0 is gonna open for an amount of time described by our ADSR, and it's going to go to send the filter output to the mixer, which is then going to go to our main output. I hope. Yes. Yes, because I rehearsed this 300 times. So let's try this. Okay, I'm going to keep the gate at 0. Right, so we got priority last, which is okay. We got the octaves, the transpose. See, that works with. In fact, I actually have an arpeggio here. I'm gonna press play on the arpeggiator on the bass station, and it's gonna do it without me playing, which is the best thing ever, okay? Here. Which is actually from a song of mine. Just saying, all right? Which I also played at Superbooth. Now, it's not exactly tracking that well because I think the note value is a little bit fast, and we could change this, but it doesn't. There's no problem in. Sometimes what you're hearing, and I'm gonna bring it up, we're gonna have some fun with the oscillators, okay? So I'm gonna bring this to 0. No, actually, I fear loudness. -14. These at 0, and these up. You hear it? It's working, right? It's playing the arpeggiated part where I'm using my keyboard for now. It's going through everything we have and it's doing what it needs to do. But something that we could do is we could have it trigger the retrigger of this, because then it will reset each time we're playing that. Otherwise, you heard it. Sometimes it skips a note, or it's kind of like weird because I need to fine tune the D onto the time of the tempo that we have, which is 98, okay? So I'm gonna plug it into retrigger, and hopefully this should sync it. So each time a note's gonna happen, it's gonna re-trigger the ADSR, it's gonna reset itself. All right, okay. So now, okay, we got that. Isn't this amazing? It isn't. No, it is. Like it just, I hear it sounding amazing already. Okay, but we're kind of coming up with an example patch so that then we know the modules that we want to keep all the time. Okay, so one module that like, for example, if you want to have another VCO, you can do that. Okay, we could take the note again and send it to something else. For example, here we go here. Okay, we don't need to sync the two. And now we keep this one, for example, it's a square. We send it to the 24 to, sorry, we send it to, oh, we can't mix it. Aha, okay. We send this to, well, no, we need another filter. I make a decision. I want another filter. So this one goes here into the 24. The 24 is going to go to our second VCA. Which is here. And this one's going to go to 2. Okay, I'm making a second oscillator, basically. Second oscillator, second filter, different type of filter. And the output of it goes to the VCA. We need an envelope generator. Say I don't want to have a second envelope generator. Okay, I'm going to take that second output and I'm going to go CV in. Now, Softube Modular doesn't prevent you from doing this. Okay. In reality, you could do that with patches. You know how there's patches that are like headless? That's how I call them. I don't know what's their name. That you can stack more cables, more plugs, one onto the other, and they're going to be multing your signal, right? You can do this. We can send output to those two, but there's also output to output. I don't know if it's going to be different, but so now we've got a system that does this. And I have a mixer, right? In 1 is our oscillator 1, in 2 is our oscillator 2. Right? So say that I like this and I want to just do 2 effects that we're probably not going to use, but just so that we get into something familiar because it's kind of sounding a little bit cooler. I'm going to go tape echoes, and I'm going to go, actually not tape, I'm going to go tube delay, and I'm opening and I'm going to do SAR. Okay, there we go. So let me move delete. Let me take this guy here. Let me take this guy here. I'm making space. A lot of people like to cram things up, but for now, let's do this. Okay. So now what we do is this. We take the output of the mixer, in my opinion, and we send it to the input of the tube delay. Once we've mixed our oscillators, we send them to the tube delay input. Then the output of this is going to go, we're actually going to go into the input and the output of our reverb. Okay? And now we're stereo. We're mono delay, we're stereo output, however, for the reverb. So I'm going to take the output of the reverb and I'm going to go here, output left and right, because now I want to have it kind of like stereo. Okay. So say I'm going to start with reverb 0%, mix 0%. We're going to introduce the delay right there. These are just 2 effects. They look like modules, but they're essentially 2 effects like you would load plugins or pedals on. Okay. So large, I want mostly reverb, I want high diffusion, I want random, I want to close it down. I'm super used to this kind of stuff. The high cut to like 3.2, density 84, reverb time about 14 seconds, pre-delay 30, 24, okay. And then time of this, let me go sync. So now we have beats, 6 beats every bar. Let me do 8. 6 beats every bar would be what you're thinking. 8 beats every bar would be what you think, like 8 notes. Okay. Feedback, a lot of it. Then treble, I don't know these values yet. So let's try and hear what this sounds like. It's gonna be completely dry. You hear that? It's kind of probably the distortion on this thing. Or it could be my CPU saying I can't do it any longer. So what I'm gonna do in real time is this. Let me see actually. Let me go performance meter. I think we're burning it already because my buffer isn't actually that high. Let me try that. Are we playing this? No, please. Okay, so it could be us, it could be them, it could be aliens already intercepting our spaceship. So I say we move to, I don't want that. Close yourself. What is this? Close yourself. UA Connect trying to steal our thunder. I'm gonna go 1024. All right, so that we have a little bit more room for it. I'm thinking, see, we're not red any longer. I'm thinking we're not dropping out. So, right. So Tsar mostly hits a lot of CPU already. So I know that for a fact. There's the R version, which is a little bit lighter, but I don't think it's actually that lighter. So we got kind of, you see how deep this thing is? The two processors here are quite thick. So let me raise it up. Let's hear the mix and the reverb. Okay, so my arpeggio is going. We got delay. We can mess with other stuff now, but it's pretty static here. And I'm gonna make it static, then we make it a little bit more exciting. Then I bring it up here, the output, and then we're gonna go reverb, like wet. I don't know, somehow wet. Alright, so it works, okay? We could alternate things around. For example, now I know you know, okay? Now I know you're getting into that modular thinking. Like, you see this, for example, mix thing here? That control there? I hope I'm kind of getting you to the vibe of modular. You see on the tube delay, there's like a socket that says mix. In the eyes of a modular expert, that means that if you send CV to that plug, that socket, whatever you want to call it, if you plug something into that mix, you are going to control the mix amount, okay? So how do we do that? Well, we could say we take this LFO and we just go mix, right? And let's hear what it does. So my LFO is controlling the mix, okay? It's giving it basically a full range CV, which we'll see maybe later on. It's just sweeping from fully mixed to fully dry and so on and so forth, but the reverb isn't changing. But the dry wet or the tone does have that, right? So I could easily say, you know what? I want, for example, I have no idea. I want the tone to change as well, but maybe in the same kind of cycle. So we take the same sine wave and we go to tone, and now it's gonna sweep around and have some kind of like very slow, nuanced vibe. Right? So sometimes it's changing, sometimes the reverb's becoming brighter, sometimes becoming darker, which is a cool thing. And you can't always do that quickly with other processors. For example, that's why modular is kind of like that vibe. So here's, we got direct drive, delay drive. These tube delay sounds off the hook good. I'm telling you, like it's legit. So say I want to add something else. For example, I'm going to take another VCO, and I'm going to try and use another VCO. And I'm going to take this one. I'm going to move it here. Actually, I'm going to move it here, and I'm going to move my third oscillator here. What I would like to do is I would like to use something that is already there for like a single note, okay, that stays. And so this does not have to go to the ADSR because otherwise it doesn't play the same way, right? It's just going to be there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the, let's see if it works. I think I need another filter for sure. Now you get why people buy so much stuff. Because they say, well, it's a great idea, but I do need another filter. I'm going to put it here, our oscillator 3. Okay. So I don't want note. I want just this. I'm going to send it to the audio in. I'm going to take the 24 and I'm going to go to in 3 right here. So this is going to play all the time. Or it should play all the time. Why am I not hearing it play all the time? Let me just figure this out briefly. I hear that. I don't hear... because it's kind of not low. Let me lower this. Okay. Why is this not playing? Have I made a mistake somewhere? This is going to the input. This is going there. It should work. No, it doesn't. For sure. Audio in, oscillator, here. 24 dB on, in. Why isn't it? That's a very interesting thing. Why isn't it gating? Oh, because the output? No. It shouldn't. It should play. What if I do this? It plays. Something's off. All right, let's do this again. Right? Maybe you know, crew. You know that? You know why this is happening? So oscillator here, tune's fine. Getting out of here. And then 24, input 4. Oh, now we hear it. No, don't tell me that I did that. Come on, it was low. Horrible. See, the output was off. Okay, so... For example, this. So these notes not going into our notes and arpeggiators, it's just fixed, right? So because I gave it a note of actually C sharp, I can easily put it into the CV1 because I pressed C sharp and the arpeggio goes. So this will always be the root that I play. No, because the arpeggiators, no, that cannot happen because the arpeggiator is sending stuff out. So we cannot do that. Apologies. This has to be fixed. This is not tracking, right? So this. But it is a C sharp. Is it? No. For example, so now we got 3 oscillators, 2 filters, 4 LFOs, and we could take the second LFO and say, you know what, would be nice if this controls the feedback, for example, or the frequency. And now this does it. You saw what I did as well? Like, this is going on itself, and this is like droning on the arpeggiated notes that I'm doing. There's an oscillator doing the root that's not tracking. Then there's two oscillators tracking on the notes. That, like, it's very easy to explain it in a very complicated way, but you saw how I built it. It's not really that complicated once you got the lingo down and everything like that. We've got this filter for the low note that is moving around, but we also got the mix amount getting modulated while the dry wet of the reverb stays the same. And it's a subtractive synthesizer, what we've built. It's made of 3 oscillators, 3 filters, 4 LFOs, 2 ADSRs, of which we've used just 1, 4 VCAs, because it's 2 dual VCAs, in which we've used just 2. And just the last thing I did was taking a colored version of the noise generator, the 118, and this is just the, is the rate really work? I don't think the rate is, maybe I moved it, but just I felt it was doing something, but I don't think colored. Yeah, rate and level are related to random output, and the red and blue noises are the colored. So I just moved that out of no reason. I didn't do anything. So, but the color output of the 118 is modifying my frequency point of using CV2. And I use CV2 to decide how much of an influence I want the noise, the colored noise, to have on the filter. In fact, you heard it. It's becoming glitchy, right? Because the filter is opening so fast based on the colored, then it's going to be kind of, weird. So let's try that. Just the second oscillator, so we hear that. Why do we hear it so percussive? We do that because the filter, I'm reminding you, is before the VCA. And so for that reason is the VCA is opening and closing on the envelope, and it makes that sort of, that opening, that plucked sound feel consistent, right? Because it's a noisy filter variation that it's still getting decided by the VCA that is getting shaped by the ADSR. So it's really post everything. If we had these at VCO level, we would go VCO, VCA, then into the filter. It would feel different because now the VCA would control the output of the VCO and not the actual output of the filtered VCO, so the VCF. Does it make sense? Am I talking completely weird, crew? I am, right? It's really easy to talk about these and look like you're a mad scientist or something, but I know you know. I know you know what's going on. It's really not that complicated, But it's obvious when you get in front of a modular synth that somebody's been patching on for a day. You're not gonna go like Mozart on it, It's not like you get a score and you go like, oh, wow, the second violins are playing so well against the oboes, It's not your Mozart and open a score and hear everything, You need a little bit of a time to do that. It's the same with modulars. Nobody can get here without even seeing cables in virtual land and going like, oh, yes, okay, yeah, oh, nice. I can see it at a glance. You need a little bit of, I do need a little bit of time for sure. So we got these going, which is nice for us. And it's 3 oscillators. And it's pretty simple. We can take this to be a little bit more complicated as well. For example, we still have LFOs to go. And a VCO to go could be, for example, we could do weird stuff. We could even do an ADSR on the time of the delay. But we could take for example, one VCO could get controlled by an ADSR. That's pitch envelope now. Simple as that. You see that all the time. Do we want to do that? Let's try that. So, nope. Gate's gonna go to the second ADSR. It's wizardry. Joking. Was not fully paying attention. Gonna rewatch for sure. No worries. These things are recorded. So they're gonna get on YouTube as well. I love that you could join though. Thank you very much. It means a world to me that I'm doing this. There's people watching that, of course. Then everybody's doing their thing. That's fine. We're chilling. We're chilling. It's fine. We're on a spaceship saving the world, making music, but we're chilling, essentially. That's exactly that. They put the fate of the earth in our hands, the hands of some people with modular synthesis. But that's what we do. We save the world through the weirdest of things. And this is pretty weird. So it hasn't gotten weird because today we designed a subtractive synth, which is the last thing I've done every time I fiddled with modules from friends that had them. In Berlin, I knew at least 3 people with the hobby of Eurorack modulars, which is worse than people with the profession of Eurorack modulars. They kept buying a lot of things, and there's a lot of things I didn't know, but they were just fine to just plug and patch. So I was saying, I want to use the gate already to control the second ADSR and also the trigger as well. So we want it to retrigger. And I'm going to take the output of this and I'm going to send it to CV2, okay? So CV2 that I'm going to move to 0 is going to control the pitch of our second oscillator, which is conveniently mixed. So in 2 is our second oscillator. So we can bring these 2 down. Okay, maybe I should have picked 1. Okay, so now let's bring the noise down so that we can hear it a little bit unfiltered. Do you hear it, how it's breaking up when I go up with the volume in the mixer? And it's also the tube delay that it's getting a little bit more into the mixer knot. It is really, really organic. And I gotta say, I love VCVs for what I've tried, but the kind of heft Softube Modular has, so far, I think it's unrivaled. It's really undefeated. Right? So it's weird and it's wrong and it's completely off. But if we make it just a little bit weird, let's see how that works. We could really have it modulate in the song, but this is not gonna be a song, but that would be wild. It would be much easier for me to play it on the keyboard. But let's try, keep trying. You hear it? The pitch is kind of like no longer where it should have been. The time range is really low and you can see it from the light. So we can even go inverse output actually. So let's try that. And this thing's going. It's just repeating, okay? So, I mean, I'm gonna save it just for kicks. But, let me call it what? MM Day 1 Subtractive Test. whatever. So we have it just because I feel really bad to kind of disconnect everything and say like, whatever, we did it, ciao. No, I don't think it's gonna be nice enough. So it's not respectful for the time and things we've done. So this is what we did. Now, in terms of what I think we need to keep for our startup preset, I'm gonna go move delete, and I'm thinking I want the DAW sync, I want the MIDI to CV, and I want the audio mix here. Well, maybe not. I want the LFOs for sure, 4 of them, and I want the, well, we don't really need these. I want the ADSRs. Oh no, I carved one. All right, no worries. We've got undo. Boom. See? The undos are crazy here. And I made a mistake, and Softube kind of saved me. So I'm gonna take that out. Okay, so edit. We want the LFOs. I don't know if I should keep it there or not, because there's other things that I want to probably add. This thing here, quadraphonic, that's a delay. No, MIDI to trigger, maybe the MIDI to trigger. Okay, so we need to make room for this. Okay, so we have 4 LFOs. We have, which I like to see first, then the ADSRs, 2 of them for kicks. Then we take the panel out. We're not that whatever. And then 2 VCAs, which is actually 4 because it's dual. 1 noise oscillator and 1 Vactral low pass. You know what? No. I want to have another noise. To me, this is really that. And then this thing. What is this? The ring mod. Ooh! And so we filled our first space. But then I want to go move delete. We're going to take the VCOs out. The filter is away as well. And we're going to keep our mix though. Okay. So we are going to remove everything. I don't even know if there's a shortcut for that. It doesn't really matter. So the frequencies, all of these are going to be off. The frequencies I'm going to keep like here because this is the first 2 are going to be our super slow LFOs usually. And the other ones are going to be kind of on the faster side. This is going to be our kind of plaque thing. I know it doesn't make sense because like, why are you preparing these? Trust me, because most of the time there's some things that I use as starting points and then we make more noise out of it. These are all fine. That one's also, I like it that way. The random output. So we're going to do these the same pretty much. And then the ring mod, we just keep it there because we don't know there. So then we got audio mixer. That's fine. What I could do is gating this already so that we have triggers and gates done for these things. Because I'm probably thinking the ADSRs are synced to gate as a starting point. It's just how it is. Noise, VCAs, all that stuff. I mean, the output of these is going to be here. The output of these is going to be here. And that's pretty much it. 4 LFOs, 2 ADSRs, 2 VCAs, which is actually 4, 2 noise, ring modulation, and the final mixer. Now, effects I'm not going to use because we are going to use the modular's sends on the tracks for this. Okay. So I'm thinking this should be our startup preset. Okay. And I'm going to call these startup 01 or V1. And there's something else. There's set current preset as default. Okay. And that's the little house. You see that little house right there? See that little house right there? If I go modular now and I call these modular 02, when it opens, it's going to have this right at a glance. Because this is where we go. This is how I'm thinking, okay? So say, for example, that we will do next week, we're doing a bright clouds rings thing. I'm thinking, I cannot wait until Monday to do that. On Patreon, we're probably going to do it earlier. But no, I'm kidding. It needs to wait, okay? So I'm resetting stuff. I'm doing save. It's going to overwrite right there. Say I want to have a bride I'm leaving the spaceship for today. Thank you soon. Ciao, Marco. We're going to cut soon. I'm just going to do a test here with the braids, and then I'm going to close. No worries. Then you can always rewatch. See you on Discord. See you on Patreon. Thank you for being here and manning the deck. Today, Marco was at the deck on the bridge, right? So that's a bright seesaw, that bright seesaw startup. So what we'll do, we're taking this output, we're sending into the mixer. This should go here. We're cooking here. That's it. So I'm thinking actually there's a mistake I've done. Let me do edit. Let me cut these here. Okay, this is good. So we're gonna keeping these at 9 o'clock, these at 0. And I'm gonna save again. Because now, as you can see, I have my LFOs that are not syncing. The ADSR is not syncing. Oh yeah, it is syncing, retriggering, and the audio mix is already going there. So we're kind of good that way, right? So all we need to do if we want to play something is we take brights, we plug it to the input, and it should play. Then we send our output of this. Can we do this maybe? And then this. Right. And it works. So instead of, yeah, well, trigger is fine for the envelope, but maybe we can just go trigger instead, right here, right? And then the voltage is fine, but it's not shutting up. Why? Well, because it's not going to a VCA. So now if we do this and we go out here, 1, we could do these actually, 2, 3. Oh my gosh, see? I'm thinking. I'm really thinking. So this is a good thing that we've got all of them panned out so that when we turn the mixer up, it shouldn't be playing. But if I play a note, right? And this is pretty much it. If we want to add maybe a quadra here, I'll do maybe a pentasequenza, which I absolutely love. Now here, we're not going note. We're going to go trigger out, and we're going to go voltage CV out to voltage out. We're not linking, we're clocking, we're resetting here, run and clock in. We're taking quarter note. Awesome. Length 5. So if I press play now, maybe something will play. Maybe. Let me see if that works. The CV out is going to our, maybe it's not triggering. All right, no, this should be working. Okay. Why isn't this playing though? The output's going to the input here. Our CV is getting triggered. But our gate is an ADSR. So obviously this is not really doing anything. So because there's no gate being sent. So our gate out is gonna go here instead. And so the output of this is gonna go here instead. Right. But this is just going to go gate. So now we go voltage. I did a summertime thing. All right, we got it. Right. Okay. So it works anyway. So now let's close with our startup. This is going to be what we have. This is going to be our gate going to the 4 gates here. The triggers are going to the retriggers. The outputs are going here. This one's going here. The outputs are all mapped 1, 2, 3, and 4. That could be a great start. So then we got the mixers, the volumes all the way up. The out goes to the out. And then we've got, you see when I press play, it's triggering everything. So I'm going to save this. And I'm still not sure I want to patch everything though. This is proof of concept that it's gonna work. But I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe. No, yeah, we do it this way. Save. All right. And this is it. So we got our first sounds in. We explored what the nomenclature and everything is, the modules, how they work. And in this first episode, we designed a subtractive synth, which we're never gonna do again, ever. But just so you knew, the episode that some people are gonna rewatch, this is kind of a rundown of why I want innuendo in, why I'm loading my template, which we're gonna explore to the next episode, not tomorrow. Maybe for some of you it's gonna be tomorrow. Why I wanted to create a startup point, and what the main controls of modular are. In an hour and a half of stream, we covered CVs, triggered and gates, node values, which is also voltage, as we said, and then the clock at the very end, the modules we wanted, and how things generally work on modulating something through a source coming from something else. We designed our main startup patch. We said that each time we open modular, it's gonna be this one, and I'm gonna save this. This is where we're gonna start next week, which is going to be really taking it not into subtractive. So watch this episode, rewatch these, take some time to go on Patreon, look at the other stuff that I have, because I have a lot of stuff. And if you want to keep supporting this project, take a look at what Patreon tiers I have, donation links. It changes the world to me. If you want to support me, this is going to keep this environment going. We're going to make a record out of the music that, yes, we're going to create through modulars. And I'm going to show you next week that brides, I'm not kidding here, people. Brides, clouds, rings, and then just to say two things, the 259 by Buchla and the spectral processors are going to define everything. But we have to design kind of a drum module, a bass module, and two atmospherics. Then we can start shaping things based on ideas and cues, because I'm going to give myself sort of a main idea and we're going to make music specific for that. For example, I don't know, underwater abandoned lab. Think about that. Could be next week thing. Get ready, crew. We're leaving. So thank you very much. It's now time for R&R. And again, check out what I do on Patreon. It's really, really cool. All the people on Discord are really fantastic. Thank you for the support. Check out what I'm doing. I'm going to close it here. This was Modular Monday, episode 1, people. One day, you're going to say, I was here. I was here when this happened. Thank you very much for staying with me. And as usual, you know where this is going to end. Ciao.